LinkedIn is a cesspool. Let's be honest. It's so
I'm so
bad.
glad you. I was so afraid you're going to disagree. Thank you.
It's so bad.
Welcome back to Keeping Commerce Weird, the show where we cut through the noise and celebrate the quirks, creativity, and big ideas shaping the future of commerce. And I'm your host, Travis Hess, the CEO of Commerce. Now, today's a special episode and a subject near and dear to my heart given my professional history. What is the future state of digital agencies? Agencies have always been the connective tissue between brands and technology, but as commerce evolves, fueled by AI, composability, and tighter budgets, the definition of an actual agency is changing fast. Today, we're exploring what that means for the next 5 years of digital services and who's best positioned to thrive. We're seeing a fascinating shift, particularly in the commerce space. Agencies are moving beyond being just implementation partners and performance marketers to becoming strategic growth enablers and catalyzers to broader transformation, guiding brands through everything from data-driven catalog and content enrichment and syndication across an infinite amount of surfaces to enabling and optimizing organizations for agentic commerce. The question now isn't just what agencies do, but how they redefine their value in a rapidly changing ecosystem. What makes this shift particularly daunting is the fact that agencies at their core are people businesses. People are their actual product. Thus, they need to acquire, retain, and enable those resources and orient them specifically to the demand in market. Let me just tell you, easier said than done. Joining me to unpack all of this is someone who's been studying and honestly shaping the world of commerce for years. Rick Watson, founder and CEO of RMW Commerce. Don't let his flowing, grayless locks and strict skincare regimen fool you. Rick's been in the game for more than 2 decades, helping build and advise some of the biggest names out there. From Channel Advisor and Barnes & Noble to Pitney Bowes, these days, he's also the voice behind the Watson Weekly podcast, where he and my friends Jess Liseski, Nick Kaplan, and occasionally the hysterical Vinny O'Brien dish out sharp, unfiltered takes on everything happening across retail and marketplaces. Rick's also a bit of a clairvoyant and one of the few in the space both astute and bold enough to predict what's coming next. Particularly, I also appreciate his snarkiness and have been a self-described Watsonian for years. So I'm really excited to have him here on Keeping Commerce Weird. So sit back, eat, drink, multitask, whatever blows your hair back, and enjoy. Let's get into it. Rick, welcome to my little podcast, Keeping Commerce Weird.
Thanks so much, Travis. I really appreciate you inviting me out.
Oh, it's a given. I've been waiting with bated breath for this day. Let's, as I normally do, let's talk personal a little bit, because I don't think people know, you don't talk a lot about like your backdrop and your personal life. You're kind of all business and a little bit of snark. A little inside baseball for the audience. You actually encouraged me to do this podcast. And to be honest, it was a huge factor in me actually considering it. I don't think anyone knows that, but you and
I'm the originator. A late night text. I was drunk, I think, during that text, right?
I mean, listen.
You listened. No, just kidding.
That's fine. I mean, a drunk person saying is a sober person's thoughts, as they say. So, I mean, that's okay. You really meant it when you encouraged me to do it.
Get yourself out there.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying. You know, it's I'm an extroverted introvert. I think they call them ambiverts, but I'm adjusting accordingly. And all the filters and the cameras, and I'm not in my safe studio today. So like hair, makeup, lighting, everything is I'm au naturel today,
makeup?
As opposed to, I mean, no bronze or anything. I mean, it's more about consistency of the skin as you get older. I think you know this. I mean, you don't, because you've been more, your skincare regimen is way better than mine. I don't think a lot of people know this, but you're from New Orleans, no?
Yes, I am from New Orleans, the Big Easy. My family is still there. I'm the only one in my family who's escaped. I'm the oldest of 3. And I finished high school there, and then I went off to college and never returned except, holidays. I go back a couple of times a year, and, kind of the spirit of New Orleans never really leaves you. Anyone who's spent any time there, it's a different city. It's a very unique city. compared to a lot of places in America. I don't know if it's different or weirder than Austin, for instance, but it's definitely weird.
It is weird. I think it's authentic is what I like about it.
Yeah.
It's not pretending to be something that it's not.
Yeah.
And it evokes an emotion, like an energy to it. I mean, so does Vegas, so does Austin. I mean, a lot of these authentic cities do, but New Orleans is unique in the States. I think it evokes an emotion unlike any other city. Having known you for some years, and you being mostly on the East Coast, you don't really carry an accent. I never in a million years would have guessed you're from New Orleans.
Yeah, I think I get that a lot, to be honest with you. And I think where it comes out is usually at the end of the day, if I'm having a good meal and it's over a drink, then the drawl start to come out a little bit,
Yeah.
Travis. So, if that happens, then like, oh, this guy's, he's not from the Midwest.
Yeah. If you could take one thing from there and transplant it to New York, what would it be besides yourself?
Oh, the food. The food is the obvious answer because you can't get New Orleans food anywhere else. Thank goodness, to be honest, because I think it's hard to reproduce.
Yeah. The chicory coffee and the beignet.
Yeah,
I mean, it
doesn't exist.
it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Listen, I would say because people that know me, I know you, ask me every now and again, what is he like? What is he really like? What he portrays himself to be on LinkedIn and other mediums? Because let's be honest, you've been kind of a big deal the last 3-4 years. I think you've done an amazing job building and managing your brand. It's probably been longer than that. I don't want to trivialize it, but I would also say you're both loved and feared in this ecosystem. Maybe more than anyone else in the space. Like, to be candid and to borrow like a great line from the movie A Bronx Tale, would you rather be loved or feared?
I'm more of a lover than a fighter.
Okay.
I do enjoy a good debate, as you can tell.
Sense that, yeah.
And so I enjoy it because I think it helps us with understanding. It helps us get to the truth.
Well, I've texted you before because I do love your snark. I don't love it when it's associated with me, which happens on occasion, and deservedly so, by the way. I appreciate the snarkiness and the honesty, but I've also texted you on a couple of occasions, like, remind me not to get on your bad side. I think your objectivity and your directness and your critique in particular is appreciated. Although when it's directed at you, it doesn't feel great. I'll be honest with you. But, at the same time, I don't think it's meant to feel great or good for that matter. It's meant to be factual from your perspective.
Yeah.
All right, well, good. We got that personal stuff out of the way. I just want to humanize you first, man, before we get into like the substance of the podcast. And right. And let's talk a little bit about the evolution of the agency model, right? And how, agencies have shifted over the last couple of decades. I think Kelly Getch had a pretty interesting post a couple weeks ago. I know you read it because you also sent it to me. And I had already read it, but and it facilitated some fascinating comments. I think if memory serves me correctly, I think he had 3 models in there. And keep me honest here, I think 1 was like staff aug, 2 maybe T&M, time materials. The 3rd was more like outcome oriented, maybe fixed bid. And then it was fascinating to see a lot of people, and again, in your network, we know a lot of the same people, watching them weigh in of whether they agreed or disagreed with Kelly. We can have this banter back and forth too. What say you? Do you agree with him? I think his thesis was that the first 2 have either gone away or going away. The only one that's interesting with AI and everything else going on is the outcome fixed oriented engagement. What say you? We don't have Kelly to defend himself here, but we can have him on a future episode.
Yeah, I think, I mean, at the end of the day, some of those, the difference isn't so clear. It's more of a pricing model difference than anything. It's not necessarily a capabilities difference. And so different people, for instance, there are platforms that charge based on a percentage of sales. I won't, name which some of those are. And some of them charge based on a monthly or yearly subscription rate. Yeah. And so I think when you think about time materials versus outcome based, a lot of it depends on who your market is and what they're going after. So for instance, I think startups really love outcomes because they're not going to pay unless they get something for it. And especially if you're cash strapped, that seems like a good path for me. Like, if someone wants to increase my conversion rate, it's really crappy. It's 1%, and I want to tell them to get it to 3%. Like, if it doesn't get to 1.5%, you get paid nothing. Whereas if you're working with like, I don't know, Home Depot or something, and you've spent hours and hours trying to move the needle on the conversion rate, and the gains are hard won. Do you think that they're really going to bill based on outcome? Those agencies, I tend not to think so. And so, these models, I think, for a straw man, for a post, for LinkedIn, you present them separately. But I think all of us, including Kelly, if he were here, he would agree likely that there has to be a sort of a blended based on your audience and their goals as well.
Yeah,
how's that for a weasel answer?
Oh, come on, your words, not mine. I think being a former agency guy, I see value in all three. Although the second one to me is always the least understood. Time and materials. I mean, people are kidding themselves on the agency side. If you think you're really billing time and materials, the client has a fixed fee in their mind. Right. It's, hey,
totally.
Listen, what's it going to cost for this? It's going to be $1 million. We're going to do it T&M. The agency's hearing, okay, $1 million, time and materials. And if it's more than that, we're going to CR them and all this other stuff. What the client's hearing is it's $1 million fixed fee. And if you're going to charge me more than that, you better damn well show me at different gates in that project or that engagement where I increase scope, I delayed deliverables or inputs or things like that. If you can't do that, then guess what? I'm not paying you the extra and it turns into a fixed. So we did almost everything fixed just because it was easy. And by the way, the only way an agency is going to turbocharge margin is not on time and materials. That is a fixed margin deliverable. And arguably, it's only going to go down, at least in a fixed fee, assuming you're mitigating risk. There is an opportunity to drive more margin if you can deliver such things. And again, back to the outcome front, doesn't mean you can't bill against outcome. Everything should be outcome oriented. Like that could be an implementation, it could be an enhancement, it could be whatever. It could be outcome oriented as it relates to performance. How you bill against that, it could be a retainer, it could be a fixed fee for a period of time, or what a lot of people got into is this kind of time and materials with a cap, which is like the dumbest model ever. It's like, wait a minute, I have zero benefit to this. If I do it faster than expected, I bill less, but I'm capped at what I can do. So I get the fixed fee, I get the ceiling of what I can do, but I can't juice the margin at all. There's no ability to drive this more efficiently. So anyway, there's a lot of angst there, just with all the change, all the disruption. How have you seen this evolve tangibly? Because you work with a lot of them too. You certainly have lots of friends there.
Yeah, we run RFPs as well in the consulting business. So, I mean, I think what's happened in the platform space is a lot of times people come in knowing what platform they want, but not knowing what agency they want or how to engage them, or even like what their own requirements look like. So those are things that we definitely help with from a consulting point of view. I think the limitations of the outcome model are generally client driven, meaning the client doesn't know what they don't know. And often they don't even know what they know. They can't describe not only can they not describe what business problem they're trying to solve, they can't describe the end result in terms of goals, deliverables, KPIs, metrics. Other than they know it shouldn't cost very much more than whatever figure that's in their head. And that's just the honest truth of it. And so I think there are a lot of aphorisms about things like that, what is it? Abe Lincoln said if you were to like chop down a tree, you would spend 90% of the time sharpening the axe and 10%. You know what I mean? Like if you know what you're doing, you're not just sort of hacking away at it for time and materials. You're actually trying to do things well. And I think that's true with good agencies as well.
Listen, agencies are very simple. They have cross-functional resources at different levels, at different cost bases, whether that's nearshore, offshore, onshore. Like they have a margin profile that they base everything against, generally speaking, some more than others. And the reality of it is, like, the scope is the scope is the scope. And with the technology so quick now, honestly, here's the biggest drag. How quickly can clients engage with agencies and get them the requirements and the data and the inputs that they need to be successful. Because it's like you've got 8 people fractionally sitting there waiting to do work, and if they're relying on 3 or 4 inputs from a company that they're not getting, they're out there. They're like the guy next to like the hole being dug on the highway, 8 guys smoking a cigarette, and 1 dude manning the bobcat. Like
I
that's
love that.
just sorry for those guys. Those are hard jobs, but it's like that's the reality. And so that costs money to have those assets there. So the fixed fee, I think, mitigates it as long as you're doing enough reconnaissance up front where you can charge a premium for scope creep and weird unknown things. I think you can kind of get there. But I think most want to get to the outcome.
Right.
Real quick, get into kind of more of let's get a little weird spotlight here. What's the weirdest or the most unexpected client request you've gotten during your consulting career, like ever? Doesn't have to be recent, unless it is recent, and then of course even more interesting.
I think the hardest thing is I've been inside of vendor negotiations with close business partners of a client. We were setting up a new venture, and the client is used to working with this partner in way X. And this is an entirely new business model, digital online. It's not wholesale based, and it's way Y. And you walk into some of the conversation, and they are freaking contentious. There's like F-bombs being thrown, and you're like, whoa, what kind of horrendous stuff? Like, I thought this was going to be easy. Like, we're buddies. We're going to march in this together. And I find myself sometimes as like a mediator in these discussions, almost
therapist.
like a therapist, a marriage counselor, where I'm like, I felt like the partner was ready to walk from the table, and I'm the person who's like, whoa, let's dial it back a little bit.
This is fixed fee, man. I don't have all day to do this. I can't bill for this extra time of therapy.
Yeah.
Though the strange is this isn't necessarily, well, it was a weird circumstance, and I'll be very brief about it, but the brand will remain nameless. We went into a pitch years ago for a well-known brand at the time. They were owned by PE, and so it was a combination of the brand and the PE stakeholders. And the main PE stakeholder was late to the meeting, and we're waiting for him to show up before we'd start the meeting. So we're in this executive conference room. It's like 10 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And in comes this guy holding a bowl, like cradling a thermos of milk, like a half-gallon thing of milk, and like a box of like, I don't even know, Honey Nut Cheerios or Rice Chex or something. And this dude sits down, is like, sorry, I'm late, guys. Sits down, pours himself a bowl of cereal, pours the milk, and is literally eating through this meeting. And I'm like, this is such a baller move, man. Like, this is like, who does this shit?
Yeah.
Like, I thought Ashton Kutcher was going to jump out of like a closet and tell me I was being punked. So anyway, we get through the meeting. It goes remarkably well, despite the weirdness. And then I did not pull this off, but I thought about it. For the next meeting, I was going to bring a loaf of bread, a jar of peanut butter and jelly, and just like start making myself, and cut the crust off, like do the whole,
I love it.
the whole 9 yards. My inside part out loud this week, Rick, is I want to talk about LinkedIn and the propaganda engine it has become, particularly in the agency space. Just to draw it back to the subject matter, I actually think it's hurt agencies, quite frankly. In their obvious bias towards specific ecosystems, platforms, like whatever. And again, like I'm not excluding us from that conversation either. I understand the loyalty within those ecosystems. And it's kind of like a couple of people have called it out, like how objective is your agency when they're so aligned to a particular ecosystem? And I would say to the point you made earlier, in the New World Order, this has less to do with platform. It's almost more of a composable approach for agencies. Like you should bring best in class for industry, regardless of stack, to drive business outcome and solve problems to lead transformation. And I also think LinkedIn's just turned into a freaking hot mess. Maybe it's my own algorithm. It's like Facebook on steroids of people like merchandising their own lives and how much better it is than everybody else's life. Like, it just, and then with AI, people are too lazy to even take out the double dash. Like, you're just literally out creating AI posts every day and just like flooding the zone. I think there's still value in it. I read all of your stuff as an example, but I would welcome a Dewey Decimal type system As archaic as that sounds for those old enough to remember the brilliant Dewey Decimal System at the library, to find what's most interesting and informative to me and ignore the rest. I would literally go to the library every day and sort through a card catalog to avoid all of the wasted doom scrolling and time, on LinkedIn. And like, as much as I love going to a Nordstrom rack in my younger days in a city on a treasure hunt to kill time while I take a call and try to find that one shirt or brand that wasn't in an obvious location, I just don't have the time
Right.
for that anymore. What say you? Do you agree?
LinkedIn is a cesspool. Let's be
Oh,
honest. It's
I'm
so
so
bad.
glad you. I was so
It's
afraid you're going to
so-
disagree. Thank
It's
you.
so bad. And
It's gotten worse. I
it's
feel like
gotten
6
way-
months has been terrible.
It's gotten way worse. And they keep changing the algorithm, what they're rewarding. And that's kind of always been a little bit true. Meaning, like, 3 years ago, you used to see these, like, the 4-page slide deck was the engaging thing. And then, like, 2 years ago, it was the poll. What do you think about this?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
poll.
you
I miss
have-
the polls. Those
You
are
have
nice,
to
yeah.
have the LinkedIn poll. Now the new thing is the newsletter that's not a newsletter, meaning like every post is a newsletter on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I'm like, give me a break.
Yeah.
Um,
You can swear on the show. You can swear on the program.
yeah.
I want you to feel loose here. That's fine.
yeah, this is not what LinkedIn is about.
Yeah.
What else do you do? People ask like, what tools do you use to manage LinkedIn? And I'm like, I type into the box. I type into the freaking box. That's my tool.
You know what it feels like? It feels like a freaking captive Amway meeting. Like you get invited to some like neighborhood party. You're thinking, oh, hey,
Oh,
this is going to
shit!
be cool.
What
And
am
then-
I
and then you're in there-
doing?
And then you're in there and it's like, well, this is weird. And they're like, hey, how much toilet paper do you think you guys use as a family over? You're like, what the hell are you talking? Like, that's how I feel like LinkedIn is. Like, I get all these invitations, not because I'm cool or popular. I am clearly, anyone knows me, I'm neither. But it's like where I get so mad at myself, just like the cold callers now. They've gotten so good. Like, no, I don't need a new roof. I don't know where you got my number. Stop calling me. Whatever happened to the do not call list? Like
It doesn't. I think it failed. It failed.
It failed miserably, but it's the same thing with LinkedIn. It's like, as soon as the subject line or they draw parallels to people and you're like, okay, I'll accept that. And then within 2 seconds, there's like a laundry list of shit they were trying to like, hey, sell you. And then it's just like a relentless drumbeat of like, haven't heard from you. I'm guessing maybe you missed this. Let me try again. No, you haven't heard from me because I'm clearly not interested, and I don't even want to dignify it with a response, but if I could, it's a big giant thumbs down or a vomit emoji, and now I need to go back in through their stupid tooling and figure out how to block that person.
Yeah, which is
like,
impossible.
It's impossible. Like, can someone
It's
just
impossible.
can someone put out a Microsoft, for the love of God, can you bring back Clippy, let me turn him into a wizard when my mood suits it, and have him or her block this stuff from happening in my life? I would very much appreciate that investment. I do miss Clippy.
Yeah, Clippy was awesome. And I think the challenge is like if you try to block someone on LinkedIn, it almost like goes to the LinkedIn overlords. You're like, oh, you want to block someone? We need to file a support ticket for you. And then the review of the committee with the wizards in the hat, they're going to tell you if that's okay.
Well, you know what? I would love a survey. Like when I block someone, I want them to drop down a menu and say, why? Like I remember many years ago when I lived in Chicago with a roommate, we had a mice problem at one point.
Yeah.
And we got traps and peanut butter. And this is before like YouTube and things where you could go research stuff on the web or go to an answer engine. And of course, none of it would work. And you would see these flashes because they're so freaking fast. Like you'd see this. And of course, back then I drank a lot more. And so my responses weren't nearly as. So you're there late night, coming back from the bars, watching like TV. And all of a sudden you see this thing out of the corner of your eye and you're like, okay, that was a mouse. So we go down to the Humane Society and we go to adopt a cat and they interview us. I'm like, well, let's just get a cat. And in the interview, they have a survey of like 8 different choices. And it's like companion, a second cat, a 12th cat, because I collect cats or whatever. Or like it's an emotional security thing. The last answer was Mouser.
I want a
Which-
killer.
I want a Mouser. I checked Mouser, and just like the grocery store, they go and they have the cats merchandised based on the more prominent ones at eye level. The Mouser all the way in the back corner on the bottom, and this cat was mean as shit. But I'll tell you what, dude. Like modern day agencies need to react. In 24 hours, I came downstairs and that cat had a mouse bat them back and forth by his litter, showing off. It was the cheapest, best, and I spent less on that cat and its food than we did with all the traps and the peanut butter and everything else. I would love the same thing on LinkedIn. How do I eliminate the mice? How do I just opt out?
Look, what I tell everyone, and I think there's people are surprised when I say this, is the fact that LinkedIn is so bad is actually really great for me, because if you spend like 2 ounces of actual brain power trying to communicate information to an audience that might benefit from it, then you are like an Olympic marathon runner.
Yeah, it's a low bar.
It's such a low bar.
It's a low bar. Yeah. It's like that wiffle ball bat when you're a kid, the big red one.
The T-ball.
It's almost like impossible not to miss.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to miss the ball. Yeah, that's the bar on LinkedIn as far as quality of content is concerned. It's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad. Yeah. And I think kind of going back to the agency side, I think a very popular take is that AI is going to eliminate agencies, which I totally disagree with.
I totally disagree with.
I think anytime you have sort of asymmetry or differences between like time, money, experience, capabilities, expertise, there's always going to be people who want to do it yourself, want to do it themselves with assistance. People want it done for them. I think very much about how like Lowe's and Home Depot think about their market, which is they serve a range of consumers. Some consumers just want to press a button, have a dude in a orange or a blue vest show up, install their dishwasher, walk away. If it breaks, it's on them. Other people are the opposite. They want to order each part themselves. They want to work it on over a couple of weeks. They want to learn how to do it on YouTube. I think, to me, that kind of characterizes the agency world a little bit. Like, I think that's, to me, why AI is never going to eliminate agencies, because you still have different types of customers with more time than money, some with more money than time, less expertise, more expertise. And so I think as an agency, the trick is to find your niche that you can find high margin business with the right types of customers, because the thing that is true about AI is that AI is reducing everyone's expectations of what they should pay. And so you do have to worry about that trend, even if it isn't necessarily true across the board. It can be true if you're in the wrong niche.
Well, and its perception is reality. So if the perception is, so you've got two factors right now that is further driving this to a race to the bottom. You've got probably too many agencies based on you've got based on the demand. You've got too much supply based on the demand. Right, wrong, or indifferent. There's just not as much work for a myriad of reasons. Primarily because you've got all this disruption around agentic and AI, and you've got a lot of larger brands that are like, whoa.
Like, what would your advice be? I mean, you are the grizzled agency veteran on the call. If you're an agency owner in the audience, and I do emphasize old because of the silver content in your hair. Yeah. And I wanted to ask you, like, what is your prescription? You know, what ails the agency space right now? What's your prescription for helping some of these agency owners survive?
Yeah, I appreciate the grizzled comment, although I feel like it was a backhanded compliment. I really have dark hair. I dye it gray to appear more seasoned with more credibility. I think I've kind of alluded to a couple times. I think, how do you get to a business outcome oriented approach, predictably, read the tea leaves on what's going on in market and understand, like, again, depends on the niche and the industry, certainly, but certainly agentic's top of mind for everyone. Okay, how do I monetize that? To me, it's about transformation. I think a lot of organizations, regardless of segment, need to transform in some way, shape, or form to prepare for agentic, to take advantage of agentic. It doesn't mean like it's the sun, the star, and the moon. And there's a lot of debate out there with the current experiences like, wow, single item checkout, and are people really going to buy through these channels? And are they eventually going to go to a commercial model that is more ad oriented? We don't know those answers yet, but I think what it's demonstrating is the data is the most important. It's never been more important for an organization, regardless of size, to own their own data. I think agencies can help facilitate, catalyze that, and then apply that. I think composably, not to get into a technical debate or approach, but I think an agency taking a more of a composable approach, knowing to your point earlier, the big giant elongated projects are really not there. It's going to be project to project to project that can organically turn into kind of a longer term agreement over time with trust and value creation. How do you put yourselves in a position where you can help catalyze that transformation and do it quickly, efficiently, and effectively with the use of AI, not having it do all the heavy lifting? But if you're not incorporating that into your shtick, I think you're missing out. And I think the other thing,
catalyze the transformation. Come on, Travis, you've did too many Wall Street calls now.
Come on, dude. That's a legitimate. That's a legitimate Wall Street calls. That's a legitimate.
You're a little too big time for this podcast at this point, I think.
Oh,
maybe.
Come on, man. I'm just a summer intern that overstayed his welcome in spots. Listen, I think at the end of the day, I think most organizations need the help. I think most agencies underestimate the value of having a point of view going into these conversations. The natural muscle for a lot of agencies is going in and telling, hey, Rick, my customer, what do you want us to do? Like, what are you thinking? It's like, no, come in with a point of view, have a point of view from your install base and your experience, be a bit more open and agnostic to a prescribed ecosystem or things like that. Like, follow the tea leaves is what's best in class. And how can I drive the maximum amount of value for the least amount of cost quickly, and then have a land and expand motion once you're in there.
Yeah, no, I think it makes sense. And I also think another reason why agency owners jump back into it is that relationships do travel. And if you have a set of 20, 15, 20, 30 clients that you've worked with in your prior agency, if you did a decent job, they want to work with you again. You maintain those relationships, and you're like, I think that's also helpful, and that helps people, I think, start their next one.
That does not work as well in software. Just because you have a relationship with somebody does not mean they're going to rip out their platform and come run over. It's far easier to go engage an agency. But listen, Rick, thanks so much for joining and sharing your hair, your wisdom, as always, your time. If you want to find Rick, he's all over LinkedIn, if you haven't noticed, in a good way.
LinkedIn is slop.
I materially disagree. I love your stuff. I've loved it for years. I'm not saying that just because you're on here. I actually read it. I may not like what I read sometimes, but I still read it. It's authentic, if nothing else. For those interested, you can also check him out at rmwcommerce.com to find out more about his growing and thriving consulting service. As always, a huge thank you to our audience and my parents, who consist of most of that audience. And we will see you all next time. Stay weird.